So, David Cameron's just delivered his speech to the Conservative Party conference. It wasn't a great speech. It was, well, a lot of people call it a 7 out of 10 speech, which is my assessment as well. We'll come back to that in a moment. Mayor Bloomberg of New York came on to do an introductory speech, which I'm not sure was a very good move, because Mayor Bloomberg's a really good orator, spoke extremely well, and then there was a kind of uneasy pause before William Hague, the Foreign Secretary, came on and did an introduction that was kind of more golf club dinner than Prime Ministers. But that's not the issue here. David Cameron himself made a fairly sombre speech. Unlike Ed Miliband and Nick Clegg, he stood behind a lectern to deliver. He didn't have the wandering around, no-notes speech. This was judged to be a statesman-like speech with the country in a difficult position, and I think he positioned it fairly well. He was talking about things that had gone wrong and things that could be done to fix it and so on. I think the mistake he made, though, was that he used the insults that his opponents had thrown at him to preface what the Conservative Party would do. I think it's never a good idea to remind people what your opponents have said about you. For example, he said things like, they say we're elitist, they say we're posh, before gainsaying that argument. I think that was a mistake. I think he just should have focused on the positive aspects of what he was doing. He mentioned the armed forces, of course. He mentioned the games makers at the Olympics. And I must say, on a personal note, as a games maker myself, I didn't feel I was part of the big society. But that's just a personal thing. And obviously, his view and mine differ on that. Overall, the speech I thought was more management consultant than orator. Incidentally, he wore the same purple tie. Well, not exactly the same purple tie, but a similar purple tie to that worn by Ed Miliband and Nick Clegg. That's clearly de rigueur for party leaders doing their conference speeches these days. So I say the speech it wasn't brilliant, but it wasn't bad. It was a speech that was a lot focused on the party workers there in the hall. He talked a lot about conservative values and encouraged them, which is an important thing for a party leader to do in these sorts of speeches. He had some good sound bites. He called Labour the party of one notion, borrowing, a little dig at the One Nation speech of Ed Miliband last week. And overall, and I thought the other thing, that's what he said, I'm not here to talk about elitism, I'm here to spread it, or privilege, that was it. I'm not here to talk about privilege, I'm here to spread it. So, it wasn't a fantastic speech overall, but it did the job. It got the job done. There was a rousing finale where he came out and said, let's get on with it. Now, that's more or less what all the party leaders said at the end of their speech. So, overall, I think he did what he had to do. He got out there, he delivered a sound speech that was rousing for people in the hall. Not as much standing ovation as you might expect from a party leader, but you know, he was talking about tough times and how we can get better through tough times. So overall, it was a speech that did the job. It was sufficient without being outstanding. And my assessment of that overall would be 7 out of 10.